My sister R, female 30, and I, female 28, have been mostly low contact ever since I got engaged because she feels like I betrayed her by dating my fiance J, male 29. We both used to live together in New York during college and for a few years after that, and I liked to go bar hopping and clubbing. That's where I met my fiance Jay, and although he only had eyes for me, my sister was infatuated with him. At the bar, she told me not to pursue a relationship with him, and me, not wanting to make a scene, decided not to call Jay back. However, that night was a turning point that seemed to release a lot of insecurities my sister had about having less importance than me in people's eyes. She became really snarky, stopped going out with me, and would be downright weird or hostile with any friends or dates that I brought over. All of that led to me moving out and getting an apartment of my own, and the increased distance between us made things a little better. We were on talking terms again and both matured as people. I stayed back in New York working in the entertainment industry, and my sister moved to Phoenix to work in finance. The whole story would have ended here. But 2 years ago, Jay began to work at the same company as me, and we immediately hit it off again. I still remembered him and had his number saved in my phone, and both of us had a good laugh about it. We went on a few dates, and the chemistry was insane. We ended up becoming a couple, and just last month, Jay proposed to me. After Jay proposed and I broke the news to my family, R began acting strangely. I mentioned to her on call, haha, this is so crazy, right? But since you will get married before me, I can now date anyone I want, right? Lightheartedly bringing up her recent engagement to her fiance, K, male 35. She didn't like that though and said, I didn't ask you to comment on that, OP. I mean, okay, I didn't know what to say to that since it's not like I said anything terrible about her relationship. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that she confided in me about there being a lack of passion, which is something that can be worked on, to be honest. Nobody should judge people based on that, and maybe my sister thought I was. I don't know. But that was the first sign something was off. While my mom got happily involved in the wedding planning, my sister kept me at arm's length. When Jay met my family at a group dinner, she went over and spoke to him in private. Whatever she said must have creeped my fiance out because he texted me discreetly, asking if he could make an excuse and leave. Later on in the car, he told me that R was being really intrusive about our relationship, but didn't go into too many details. Resolving myself to deal with the touchy and annoying sister, I started to slowly stop updating her or involving her in my wedding. However, I'm a person who's afraid of confrontation, so I never had it out with her after dinner. In fact, the most confrontational I've ever been in my life is probably when I moved out of the apartment R and I shared. However, what my sister did next made me blow my fuse, despite my best attempts to keep things civil. After we had been a bit cold to each other, I got a call from her out of the blue where she asked if she could crash at my place in New York for a little bit. She had some work in the city, wanted to save at hotels, and also wanted to explain herself. I didn't want to say no to her face, so I explained the situation to Jay, and he reluctantly agreed. R was surprisingly pleasant with me during her visit, but was very odd with my fiance. Everything was going fine until the night before her flight back to Phoenix. I had just come back from work when I saw Jay and R sitting on the couch. Jay visibly agitated. R, on the other hand, had a smug look on her face. Without waiting for me to ask, R started chirpily by saying, "Oh, OP, Jay and I have had the most wonderful day today. I asked him if he could go out for lunch, and I knew his mom would also be feeling lonely, so I asked him to invite her too. After all, our families should get to know each other, right?" I responded with a confused, "Right?" And then she told me the whole story. During lunch with Jay and my future mother-in-law, R decided it would be okay to make up a random ultimatum about me wanting to remain childless. That Jay could either remain child-free or not marry me at all. She framed it as my long-standing wish and took Jay completely by surprise as well. I was furious, and this left a really bad impression on my future mother-in-law. She also behaved terribly at the restaurant and insulted Jay for being below me on the career ladder. The two of them had fought before I even got back home, and I was now in the crossfire. I immediately asked R what she thought she was doing by delivering an ultimatum on my behalf, especially since I wasn't dead set on either having kids or not having them. She sidestepped the issue and said that she did me a favor because otherwise Jay would trap me in the relationship by being a deadbeat. I was so confused and knew that they had some history with each other that I didn't know about. So I asked Jay about it. Reluctantly, he told me about what had happened all those years ago. After he gave me his number, apparently my sister took it off of my phone and called him, and despite the massive red flag that was, he decided to date her. They kept it secret the whole time I lived with R, and when I moved out, he moved in with her. When she went to Phoenix, he broke things off with her, and that was unresolved as R still had feelings for my fiance. The lunch they had together led to my sister lashing out at my fiance. When we began dating, Jay pretended not to have dated my sister, which pissed her off even more when we got engaged. I was so mad at both of them that I couldn't think and asked both of them to leave. They complied, but as I was sitting in my room, my phone was blowing up with texts from both of them. Jay thinks the past shouldn't ruin our relationship, and R somehow believes that she was doing me a favor since she thinks my fiance still wants her over me. I screenshotted everything she said and sent it over to her fiance and told her how unfair she was being to Kay. I am so flustered right now, and I don't even know what my next step should be. It's clear that my sister didn't sleep with my fiance, but was I the AH for involving Kay in this scenario? Update 1. I think I made the right call by telling Kay. He thanked me for letting him know and told me that he'll speak to R as soon as she gets back from New York. While they were discussing their relationship, I also contacted Jay to set things straight in ours. It wasn't easy, but I told him that his lack of honesty with me and the fact that he and R seemed to be closer after fighting at lunch made me feel like he wanted to be with her. I had to break up with him. He didn't make too many excuses, and it was clear that he knew he couldn't lie about it continuously. My parents also got to know a very different story from R and think that I kicked her out of my house because I thought she would seduce my fiance. I filled them in on my side of things, and they're justifiably angry at my sister and my fiance. I also called my mother-in-law and told her what had happened. She was sympathetic and told me that she also picked up a strange energy between R and J at the lunch she went to. She isn't ready to hear that I'm breaking things up and somehow believes that Jay and I can work things through. I guess she's a little beaten up about it as we'd become friends during my time with her son, but at the end of the day, I don't think I would be comfortable keeping in touch with her. Update 2. My sister called me and screamed at me for destroying her relationship. Kay has taken the same steps as me and broken up with R. I told her that it isn't my fault, and she and Jay need to sort things out between themselves before bringing other people into their lives and messing them up emotionally. I was just thinking about the timeline of things. I lived with my sister until I was 24, and she moved to Phoenix when I was 26. So their relationship has been going on for 2 years at least. That means that there's a lot of baggage between them. I still can't get over the fact that my ex-fiance misrepresented the story so badly while we were dating and acted as if nothing had ever happened between him and my sister. It's all really toxic. However, my parents went off on R for blaming me for her relationship imploding and gave her the ultimatum of treating me with respect or they would cut her off. I'm happy I have their support at least. Oh, by the way, I've also managed to piece together what happened at our first group dinner. R went off on my fiance for lying about their relationship, and he made up some excuse to leave the dinner and save his ass at that moment. Update 3. It's been a few months since the breakup, and I'm happily single. I wasn't too beaten up about it, to be honest, because my philosophy is that I dodged a bullet. This was proved for me even more because R and J started dating as soon as things blew over a bit. They're together. I don't know if happily or unhappily because it's not my concern. Kay has also moved on, albeit a bit slower than me, but both of us are friends and are navigating this shitty situation together. Nothing romantic is going on though. I'm no contact with my sister, and my parents are also extremely cold to her. She's basically lost her family to keep a man. NTA, your sister and your fiance are both AHs. I was initially hoping your sister could be rational about this whole thing because, to be honest, if she just told you up front and didn't have feelings for Jay, as you claim, you could have just cut off the fiance. NTA, it seems like Jay and R make up the classic toxic couple. It's just bad luck that you ended up dating this douche. I feel terrible for Kay in all of this, as his relationship with your sister went on for longer, and he was more blindsided by this than anyone else in the equation. Heal and move on, you two. Next story. Myself, 29 female, and my husband, 36 male, went to visit both our parents. They live 8 hours away from us by flight, and it was expensive, but we do it because holidays mean a lot. And also to see my niece, Rue, 5 female. She is my world and I love her to death. For this vacation, her mom, my sister, Mila, 29 female, was missing for most of our family gatherings and was spending time with her boyfriend and doing part-time. We have a good relationship, but was really worried that Rue doesn't get time with her mom and angry that she just leaves her with all of us. She leaves in the morning and comes late. Apparently, this has been going on for months. For a brief context, she is separated from brother-in-law and she wants a divorce and he wants to try. But she came back home because they were not compatible and it's messy. So since she's single mother, I send her allowances for her and Rue and also for other housing expenses directly to her so she can give our parents rent and focus on Rue and have a smooth divorce. I send her a total of 10,000 and my fund money account, which she has access to and uses. She sees a therapist and I get charged for this as well. Additionally, my husband pays for her divorce lawyers. We both work hard and are not rich, but we are good enough. I know it's not easy what she's going through, and I've never questioned her when there are withdrawals. But this holiday, I was so mad at how she is and who she is turning into. According to Mom, Rue is missing her mom and has withdrawn so much. She has not been giving them rent and not helping around the house and doesn't even take care of Rue. Mom works and Dad looks after Rue until Mom comes. They are also old and cannot really actively interact with her. My mom was upset at me for not helping Mila out financially, as they are also struggling with 4 mouths to feed. I have never been angry as I was then. I observed her for a week, and the second week I confronted her privately. She said being a single mom is hard and she is de-stressing. I called BS and told her what she has been doing with the money, but I'm glad she's working part-time. But what is she doing with Rue when she's comfortable and even more angry that none of the money I give is going towards Rue or helping with her? She stormed out of the room and said I'm ruining the holidays and being judgmental and she's going through so much. I told her, how dare she say that after I give her everything when even I don't have money left to buy new clothes for Christmas because I thought it was worth it. And if she doesn't stop and focus on Rue, then the money stops. I was so mad I forgot everyone could hear us. All our parents heard it. I felt so awful for exposing all this, but I was so mad. She called me an AH, and so did my brother, saying I should have picked a different time. Now that I am calm, I feel I am an a-hole for exposing her like that. Vacation has been awkward since. Update. Thank you for each and every one of your perspectives. My family and Mila and the brother-in-law are meeting today for dinner and a discussion afterwards. I have asked Mila to speak to me before brother-in-law comes, so she has a chance to tell the truth. Waiting for her to come at the moment. Since there's so much going on, I will update you all once things settle down. Thank you all for giving me the courage and words to speak up and for clarity. Regardless of whether I am an AH or NTA, I reinforced her behavior without actually finding out what's going on. For those asking why I gave her access, because we are close and she is my blood. And I had no reason to doubt her until all of this came to light. Maybe I was manipulated all along and seeing a different side to her, or more likely, she is spiraling after the divorce separation. This also has not been confirmed, and I am this close to losing my shit too. But thank you all for your kind words and advice. Update 2. Thank you for everyone who personally reached out to me and gave me some strength and resolve, and to all of you for your inputs. You guys deserve an update, but you guys also need to know some information I couldn't put due to character limit. My sister and I are non-identical twins. She had the beauty, I had the brains, but we grew up equal and loved each other and were loved very much. But I was always the responsible one, and due to me being more academic, I was able to get a good job and do my master's. This same period, 5 years ago, my sister got married and had Rue, but because I was busy with clinical placements and visas, I couldn't spend much time with her, hence my guilt, or visit. She used to say that her husband was mentally abusive and possessive and restricted her from going out and having fun, and it was easier for me to suggest MC for them. And over time, both of them said they are getting better, but she wasn't as happy being married. She had a fantasy in her head about marriage and kids, and it wasn't as easy. So she turned to different coping mechanisms like clubbing and overspending, which we didn't know, and her STBX didn't tell us. My reasons were I choose the easier path because I was also trying to cope with me not having kids yet. We are trying. And my thesis and working hours, clinical psychologist, was all overwhelming. I believe she knew exactly what she was doing and manipulated us all by showing compliance. And then when she had her chance, she left her husband. I'll get into this soon. What has actually happened was she had been overspending and brother-in-law had to pick up the slack at home, and the part-time nanny, female 47, became a full-time housekeeper. Her daughter, female 25, used to come to babysit Rue, and they bonded fast, and so did brother-in-law with Rue, but he maintained his distance from the new sitter. Mila grew to resent that Rue wasn't as clingy with her as before and started to distance even more, and then started coming home late. Mother-in-law had stopped by this time due to both brother-in-law and sis not having time, and brother-in-law had seen flirting messages from a guy on Mila's Snapchat, and he told her to leave home. She did, but with Mila, while he was at work, she had also left him a message saying she knows about him and the sitter and will let it all come out soon. Brother-in-law decided that he didn't want to continue the marriage and spoke to lawyers, and while they were preparing the documents, she was with my parents. He used to meet her outside every weekend where Mila dropped her at the park and picked her in the evening. But she wanted to show us all that he never cared, so didn't mention these and had told Rue not to say a word. Rue confirmed. Anyway, court dates have been given and we are discussing custody and visitation between our lawyers, and Mila broke down and said she needs help. She will be going to do intense therapy with a colleague I recommended, and then brother-in-law says we can discuss partial custody. I, in the meantime, am seeing my therapist as well. I have also agreed with my sister that she will not be receiving any allowance. She has applied for a part-time job now and be contributing to rent. I, however, will be sending my parents an allowance because I want my mom to retire. And for Mila, her dad will be taking care of her expenses. Brother-in-law is also going to sponsor Mila's therapy sessions since he believes and feels he had a part to play in her spiraling as well. But they both agreed to divorce since it was toxic. I still believe Mila can work it out after she does some therapy, but that is my opinion, and I am going to see how she changes. I'm sorry this is not nicely or neatly written, but my head is a mess, and I'm writing whatever that I can recall. TIA for all of you and your strength. NTA, she's been lying and manipulating not only you but your parents and neglecting her own daughter. I'm pretty sure this attitude is the incompatibility in the marriage and why she's getting a divorce. She's gaslighting you. Send the money to your parents from now on and cut her access to your account. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.